I wonder how many of us can remember as a child asking an adult, why is Good Friday called Good Friday? Many of us ask that question because when we look at the story, it's hard to see what is good about it. We know the story. Jesus was arrested. He was mocked. They plaited a crown of thorns and placed it on his head. It was a sheer act of cruelty and of humiliation. They plucked the hairs from his beard, and then they took him and nailed him on a cross. It was the most cruel form of crucifixion that the Roman Empire could think of. How could that be good? Well, to answer that question, maybe it's helpful to think of maybe an event something like D-Day, June the 6th, 1944. Clearly, that was a horrific day. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to talk to one or two people who were there, and they've universally said how bad it was, and yet we remember it with gratitude because of what it achieved. The world in which we live, the world in which so many of us have had so much enjoyment, simply wouldn't have been what it is were it not for days like that and what was achieved on those days. And Good Friday is like that, but in an even greater way. Good Friday is good because of what Jesus accomplished on the cross. What we see in the Gospels is Jesus hadn't come and gone into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday and been arrested and put on that trial and executed because he couldn't escape it or because things went horribly wrong for him. What we see in the Gospels is he'd come for that very purpose. He'd come to make it possible for you and I to come to God. What do I mean by that? Well, let's think about it. Imagine us going before God. We know that we're not what we should be. We know of the wrong in our life. We would be fearful, but we don't have to fear, because on the cross, Jesus took any penalty that should have been ours. He was punished more than anyone so that we could be forgiven. And therefore, we can come confidently today before God. That's what Jesus accomplished on Good Friday. And that is why Good Friday is called good. Many Christians remember this day. It's the focus of the Christian calendar. In Britwell, under normal circumstances, we at St George's would have joined other churches to walk around the area carrying the cross. Why? Well, to remind ourselves and to remind everybody else of just what Jesus accomplished on that day. He changed the world forever. Of course, this Good Friday, we're not able to walk around as we normally would. May I therefore suggest instead that we take some time just to think about what Jesus did and all that it can mean to us. On the website, we've put a song with pictures. You might like to use that, though I should say that some of the images are not what we would want to show perhaps younger children. But I do hope that in our own way, each one of us will be able to reflect today on all that Jesus accomplished for us on the cross.